that story, man. I actually just I learned that in the last week or so. Me and my boy, actually, he's 12 years old. We watched a documentary, Run Ricky Run. Is that what it's called?
That's intense. Yeah.
What's that called? Run Ricky Run.
Run, Ricky, run. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
kind of intense.
I
I don't even
watched it
watch
with
that.
my son because, and here's the thing: when we were done watching it, then we watched a few articles, and he's very insightful. Like, he's got this weird mind that I never had at that age. And I'm starting to get this more meaningful mind the older I get, trying to think more with my mind and my heart and be a little bit more spiritual and be a bit more here for my family and things like that. And he actually, when I told him that we were going live, he's like, that guy's so cool. He's so chill. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, he just looks at things from a different point of view. And we started looking into the stars and looking into the astrology and things like that. And my wife really believes in those things. Like, the full moon affects her, and she's got different stones and things. So, like, what made you get into that, man? Because I don't really even look at space, and I think we probably should be to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, honestly, when I got into it, it really had little to do with space. It had more to do with stories. It had more to do with mythology. And so and it started when back in 2004 when I walked away from the NFL. And I gave up my mythology. As a kid, I had this myth of being a professional athlete, right? And that myth, it carried me. That story, right? It carried me forward. And then when I retired, I let that go, and I didn't have a new story. And my story became more of a story of persecution because of the way everything went down. And so I was in a place where I was looking for like a meaningful like story, and somehow I was drawn to Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell, a mythologist who did a lot of work on, I think his vision was to show people that we're all living a mythic life, that underneath the core narratives of our life, stories that have been played out over and over and over again. And I started reading a lot of this stuff, and it led me to astrology, because a lot of astrology is about recognizing these archetypes or these stories or these narratives as they play out. And I was looking for a new story. I met an astrologer. We started talking, and I connected to my story, and I could see it moving forward. And it just got me fascinated that I said, I need to learn more about this stuff. One, for myself, but two, I see a lot of other people who are lost looking for their story, and this could really help. Because what I've noticed is we all need a story. We all need a story. And the Native Americans, they would say this is our song, right? And the song would be passed down. So you get a symbolic purpose or meaning to live from. And I think we've lost sight of that. And astrology is a way to reenact and re-engage in the stories, the narratives that we're living. Because now most people, they get their stories from sitcoms, from television, and which is rich, okay? But I think there's a richer story that we can tap to when we start learning about the stars
And some
and
people would
how
look, yeah.
and how they interact with us. Yeah.
And some people would look at it and be like, both are fictional. They'd be like, both are fictional. And even if, like, I'm starting to look at it in this sense, like, okay, I look at this stuff, and to me it's false because I haven't experienced it and I haven't really looked into it, and I don't really know what it is, right? But then I look at what you just said about the TV shows, and those are fake. But I put so much fucking time into watching those, and those are fake. So if I think this is fake, and it can make my mind trigger in a way that really ties me back to nature, then why the hell wouldn't I do it? And I'm one of those guys that looked at it in such a weird way, man. Like, so your courses that you do, like, what do those start at? How do you do those? And like, what are those all about, man?
It's funny you say faith, because it's actually not it's an accurate word, but another word I'd use is imaginative.
Yeah,
You
absolutely,
know,
absolutely.
yeah, it's imaginative, and I think we're taught way too early to get rid of our imagination. But if you look at anyone like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, any of the like great Albert Einstein, right? These great men that we honor even after they've passed, right? They What made them special was their ability to take their imagination, right? Use it to connect to some larger vision, and then have the resources and the wherewithal to make that vision real. And the imagination is a huge part of it. And so, and again, I think those men connected to some story, right? They saw that they had a meaning, they had a purpose in this world, and they allowed their imagination to lead them down that road. And so, when I'm teaching people this, it really is me helping people understand themselves and find their story. And I found nothing better than astrology to help do that. Because astrology doesn't, the way I look at it, doesn't describe people. But it does describe the meaningful themes in your life and can help you find a meaningful way that all of those different themes come together. Like I mentioned in my story, right? A big part of my vision as a kid was to have a platform so that I can say things that are meaningful that help people. Again, my hero growing up was Jesus, right? And that's what I saw he did. He said words that made people feel better. Okay. But I created the platform, but I didn't create the experiences or the ability to even the comfort to speak. I have social anxiety disorder. I kept everything on the inside. I was afraid to speak, right? And so there was a part of my story where I was deficient. I had a vision of what I wanted to become, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the necessary experiences and skill set. But my journey as a football player, it gave me all of those experiences. Because as soon as I started playing football, I started shoving a mic in front of my face and saying, "You got to speak," right? And so it forced me to learn and to get comfortable speaking. Okay, dealing with adversity, right? People are gonna freak out at what I say. Even the whole cannabis stuff, right? Because astrology and spirituality is still kind of taboo, right? Something that people are afraid to take seriously. And I think going through those experiences gave me the courage to feel comfortable to have a platform to say things that I think can help people feel better. And so it's allowed me to live my narrative, to live my story. And so I try to help each and every person tap into, find, and live their story.
That's pretty cool. And we showed them the website where they can check it out. You guys can check that out, guys, over at, what is it, Ricky? It's
RickyWilliams.life.
.life. Yeah, it's right here, guys. Yeah. This is a site here. You can check it out. My wife's gonna check it out. I think she's gonna get in for a session. I honestly, I don't even know why I looked at it that way, because I didn't even think about it until I was gonna bring you on. And then when I'm looking at your background, like, there's so much tied into, man, to the spirituality. And then you look at you can look at pictures of you from when you were playing football and pictures of you now, and you were in your prime physical health at that point, and you look healthier now. Like, you look happier now. You can almost see it in your eyes. It's wild to even think, but like, I'm like, man, this guy's got a cool friggin' vibe, man. And you look at these people that some people would label as, like, I don't know the proper word, but they look at these things and they think they're weird, right? They look at these people and they stereotype them as maybe weird for looking into this stuff, or it's goofy, or it's crazy, or it's weird, or whatever they want to say. But at the end of the day, they look like the happiest people in the world too. So it's pretty cool.